A law student in Florida just got an award for being a racist bastard. This guy, his name is Preston Damsky. He was taking a course under a Donald Trump appointed judge. I guess judges are giving classes now, and this is down in Florida where you got Ron DeSantis. You know, remember Ron DeSantis? You know, Ron the sanctimonious, wokey McWokingston. Every other word out of Ron DeSantis' mouth was all about wokeness and critical race theory. And God, that seems such a long time ago, the critical race theory, you know. But that was his thing. He wanted to get the wokeness out. You know, he's like, our kids don't need to be taught about, you know, slavery and things because it makes them feel bad. You know, we should get rid of all of that kind of education and we should just teach them America's great and wonderful and wokeness is bad. Anyway, so with Ron DeSantis doing all of his, you know, statewide, you know, getting rid of, you know, any kind of education in regards to history or, you know, civil rights or just black people and brown people in general, women's rights, what have you. He just doesn't want it to be taught in his state. And he did a pretty good job of getting rid of all that stuff. Not to mention all the other shit that he did. And not to mention the fact that he's a little short boy that walks around in high heels. But whatever. I'm just busting his little short boy chops. He's got little man syndrome, you know. Anyway, so this guy, Preston Damsky, he took a class on originalism. And that is the conservative theory that the Constitution should be interpreted in the time and place that it was written, you know, which doesn't really make a lot of sense because one of the people that actually wrote the Constitution, Thomas Jefferson, said that it should be a living document and should be able to evolve as things and time progresses. I mean, you know, I don't want to get into an argument about the Second Amendment, but back when they wrote the Second Amendment, they were using muskets. I'm pretty sure that Thomas Jefferson and Ben Franklin and all the rest of the signers of the Declaration did not think of AR-15s when they were writing it. They had no idea that that was going to be a thing. Whatever. Anyway, so this guy, he takes a class on originalism. And the judge, his name is Badalamenti. It sounds Italian, whatever. Judge Badalamenti gave him an assignment where he wrote a paper, and the student, Preston Damsky, said that we the people, as in the Constitution, we the people, only represents white people. And that all non-white people should be have their voting rights taken away from them because they're not we the people. They weren't the founders of this country. You know, I mean, never mind the indigenous people that were living here that we killed off, or never mind all of the slaves that we brought over. We the people just means white people. I mean, he was very specific about the white people. And he had written, it kind of matches up with some other papers that he had written in the past, where he wrote something in regards to, you know, similarly about white people not having, you know, the right to vote. And he also wrote some papers that were very anti-Semitic, which ended up getting him in trouble. And but the paper that he wrote about taking away voting rights for, you know, anybody that's not white in this country, whether it's black, brown, or Asian, that he wrote that paper, and the judge/teacher gave him an award called the Book Award. Anyway, there's an article on this. Let's see what it's got to say. Florida law student won an award after arguing in a paper that the United States was conceived as a white country and federal courts have the power to arrest the dispossession of white America. The student, Preston Damsky, won the book award for the best student in his originalism seminar at the University of Florida, Levin College of Law. The New York Times reported in a story noted by the Tax Prof blog, U.S. District Judge John I. Badalamenti of the Middle District of Florida was a co-teacher of the seminar. The paper constitutes 65% of the final grade, according to the Volcock Conspiracy Post, I don't know what the hell that is, by Josh Blackman, a professor at South Texas College of Law in Houston, who said Badalamenti, a former public defender, was being unfairly targeted in this article. This is starting to sound like a right-wing article I'm reading here. The fact that the student received a high grade in a small seminar is not worthy of New York Times expose. Well, wouldn't you say that it's probably a good idea to take away the voting rights of non-white people in this climate? Yeah, man, that's going to probably prick up some ears in the journalism field here. And the fact that a student received a high grade in a small seminar is not worthy of the New York Times episode, Blackman wrote. Damsky's paper argued that courts should challenge the constitutionality of the 14th Amendment ban. Republicans be hating that 14th Amendment. I mean, they're still not over the Civil War. You know, the lost cause. They're still not over that fucking lost cause. It's like, God damn it, stop it. Why do they pass those things? Why do they give the blacks the right to vote? Why do they give them their freedom? It's not fair. 14th Amendment, which protects due process. Hey, we might as well get rid of due process. I mean, hey, that seems to be, the new MO these days. Equal protection and birthright citizenship, which, by the way, Donald Trump wants to take birthright citizenship away. It's gotten sort of kind of to the Supreme Court, but they're arguing procedure at the moment. We'll see how that turns out. As well as the 15th Amendment, which says the right to vote cannot be denied based on race or status as a former slave. Failure to stop dispossession of white people is, at best, judicial surrender in the face of a terrible crime, Damsky wrote in his paper. The people cannot be expected to meekly swallow the demographic assault on their sovereignty. So by being black in their vicinity, you are compromising their sovereignty. Jesus Christ, man. This guy's eat up with the dumbass. Merritt McAllister, an interim dean at the University of Florida Levin College of Law, defended the award decision in at least 2 town hall meetings in an email to students, citing the need for institutional neutrality and Damsky's free speech rights. Well, yeah, man. Nobody says he can't have free speech, and nobody says that he can't, express them in a newspaper. But also free speech means that I get to call that shit some racist ass shit. And the New York Times can write an article on it because free speech. Nobody's saying he can't say it, but we're also allowed to criticize and critique. Thank you very much. This is America. Damsky was suspended and barred from campus decisions that he is challenging. Well, I missed something. That before Damsky began posting blunt, crass, and ugly messages on Twitter, including one saying Jewish people must be abolished by any means necessary. God damn. And another saying immigrant invaders should be done away with by any means necessary. That was another thing he said, that we should tell every immigrant that they have 10 years to get the fuck out of the country. Yeah, man, this guy sounds completely sane. He was suspended and barred from campus decision that he is challenging. The university told Damsky in an email that his post made students fear for their safety. I mean, look, free speech is one thing, but, if you are threatening other marginalized groups, now you're starting... Look, free speech is not completely free. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. You cannot you cannot do libel or slander. You can't threaten anybody's life. That's not freedom of speech. Saying that these immigrants are invaders and the Jewish people must be abolished by any means necessary. That sounds a little borderline there. And by the way, it's not the government suspending his freedom of speech. It's that college saying, we don't want you here no more. Anyway, You know, he said, I'm not like a psychopathic axe murderer. Wow, man. That's a high bar you got there. He also said he was being unfairly targeted. I'm a victim, Mom. They're witch hunting me again. Just because I said that we need to abolish the Jews and get rid of all the Browns, they're calling me a racist. I think it's completely unfair. You know, in America, there's only one thing worse than doing racist shit, and that's somebody calling you a racist shit. That's the worst thing in the world. Do whatever you want, just don't call me a racist. Oh my God, that's like saying I had sex with an animal or something. Calling me a racist, that is you're defaming me. It's like that meme of that woman in the cat going, you're defaming me. You called me a racist. Just because I don't like blacks and brown people, I think Jews need to get out. You're calling me a racist? That's not fair. Shut up, bitch. I'm not a psychopathic axe murderer. He did say, however, referring to him as a Nazi would not be manifestly wrong. Wow. Okay. Valamente, an appointee of Donald Trump during his first term, has received praise from liberals and conservatives. The New York Times reports Valamente is not a white nationalist, but he gave the white nationalist kid an award. Okay. Don't get me wrong, Damsky said. I would prefer it if he was a white nationalist. Oh my God! This is his conspiracy post. Okay, so this is Guy Blackman. In his conspiracy post, Blackman said Baldalmente is held in high regard. Blackman read the paper and said he would have given it a grade of B+ or an A- if I was feeling generous. Ooh, aren't you magnanimous? Is this the best student note I've ever read? No. Was it executed well from a technical perspective? Yes. You know, all of the racism was spelled correctly, and his sentence structure was very good. Was it thoroughly researched? Yes. Did it present a coherent thesis based on the history? Yes. Was it organized? Not really. The article developed the core obstacle, the ratification of the Reconstruction Amendments, and doesn't explain how the Supreme Court would overrule certain landmark precedents, but these sort of shortcomings are typical of law students. I read the paper. It's bad, he wrote. This is Anthony Michael Creus, professor of historical political science at the Georgia State University of Law. It's bad, he wrote. It's just Dred Scott repackaged. No new historical research, no innovative argument. It isn't poorly written, but that's about the only thing I can say about it. Certainly could not have been the best paper in the class. Anyway, I find it fascinating that so many people come to the defense of a guy who says, calling me a white nationalist and a Nazi is not completely wrong. And that, you know, I'm not saying that we need to, you know, abolish the Jews, but maybe we should, like, you know, abolish the Jews and stuff and things. And, you know, we should tell all the immigrants, y'all got 10 years to get the fuck out. So, you know, maybe start packing. Now give me an A on my paper. Wow. Man, the Florida law schools are not sending their best, folks. They're not sending their best. Some of them are good people, I assume. But a lot of them are racist bastards. I'm just saying. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying. They're all a little racist. You know, there's good people on both sides, you know. All of them had the tiki torches, you know. Some of them were good dudes, I'm sure. A lot of them voted for me. And of course, I can't say anything bad about people who voted for me, even if they have swastikas tattooed on their foreheads. You know, who cares? He voted for me. I gotta love the guy. Anyway, apparently the guy got kicked out of school for being a racist bastard. And, okay, I'm down. I'm not saying I believe in cancel culture is absolute bullshit anyway. That guy will probably get hired on Fox News within the week. That's all you got to do is do something a little extra racist. Remember that woman who called a little child, like a 5-year-old child, the N-word because the little kid was at a park looking through her little bag and she called the kid an N-word, and then she did like a GoFundMe and made like $1 million. All you gotta do is be racist and then cry to the skies and go, oh my God, they're trying to cancel me. And then MAGA will come out and donate money to you, or Fox News will call you up and give you an expose. And the next thing you know, you're a newscaster on, One America News Network, or Newsmax or something. So if you're worried about this guy getting kicked out of his college, don't you worry your pretty little heart. He will get himself a job somewhere that's making him more money than he ever would have as a racist lawyer. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe. Keep rocking.